Meditation can be a way for you to discover your ability to be with whatever happens and to be able to experience it without having to run away, to be able to face fear, to be able to face depression. And that all you have to do that when you're practicing meditation is in the simplest way is just to practice sitting still and creating a posture to sit in that is a good foundation physically, and then taking some time to pay attention to the breath as a way of being more consistent as far as your attention is concerned, your ability to pay attention consistently. And then to move from there to simply being present, to move from there to simply be aware of whatever's happening. And then the key to that is to notice what's happening in terms of, is it something that is uncomfortable and I don't like? Is it something that's comfortable and I do like? In other words, to become aware of the way the mind judges, assesses, and evaluates everything that's happening, right? And to know that you are not that mind. The mind is going to always do that. You're not that mind. So to sit still and pay attention and continually allow everything to be as it is, knowing that even when it's uncomfortable, that it's temporary. And how temporary it is has a lot to do with your willingness to be present. The more present you are, the more aware you are that a thought is just a thought, the more possible it is for you to let go of that thought. But if you don't recognize that a thought is just a thought, and you have a fearful thought, and you believe it because it's not just a thought, right? You believe it, right? Then you're off and running. Then you're going to be anxious about being anxious. You're going to be afraid of being afraid. And that removes you more and more away from what's happening. And then, of course, the other thing that happens is, people do whatever it takes as far as using alcohol or, prescription medication or illegal drugs or legal drugs because they offer an immediate relief. And we're conditioned to expect immediate relief. If we don't get it, then we conclude that this is not the right thing. I have to find something that works faster. So he seemed to understand what I was talking about, but the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I want you to be clear that when you sit down to practice meditation, that's the point. That's the whole point of the whole thing, is for you to sit there and simply be present to whatever is happening in thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, whatever it is, whatever is happening. And to sit there and just be with it. Now, I've sent you guys links to this guy, Brad, who's a Zen meditation teacher who's been practicing for 35 years. And one of the things that I like about this guy is he readily admits that he still experiences his neurotic behavior. He still experiences his stupidity. He still experiences being unskillful in terms of things that he does in his life. At the same time, he says that practicing Seizen for 35 years, as far as he's concerned, has made an incredible difference. Now, you may say, well, what the hell kind of difference did it make if you're saying that you're still crazy after all these years, right? Well, the difference that it makes is that your ability to be crazy and be relaxed and be happy and feel at home and be at home in your own skin, that's a big difference. So he talks about that. And the other thing that he says that I like, especially for somebody who's been around as long as he has practicing meditation, is that he doesn't deny or he doesn't try and sugarcoat the fact that this is very difficult to do. It's difficult to do. But it is possible to do. And as I have said here before to you, if you get the possibility and you know how important this is in your life, then you will value it. And because you value it, and because you know how important it is in your life, and because you know the difference that it can make, that you will be able to fulfill on the commitment to practice. It's clear to me that the frequency of the practice is directly equal to your motivation. Right? I mean, if you look at your life, isn't it true that anything in your life that you were highly motivated to do was a lot more probable that you would do? And if fear is going to be useful, because fear can be useful, fear is not always bad. And if fear can be useful, it may be a good idea to be afraid of not meditating. Right? Because as I have said, and I said this to the person I was talking to today, I said, you know, you may see, one of the things about people with addictions is when they come out of rehab and detox, they have this kind of, what would you call it? Kind of a honeymoon with sobriety. You know what I'm saying? Kind of a honeymoon with sobriety, because now they have sponsors and, you know, everything, and they're reading the book and they're doing all these things, and so they have this optimistic attitude about it all. And I've seen this again and again. You know, it'll last for a while, it'll work for a while, and then gradually your ability to tolerate the things that go on, or something more intense may happen, and you start to experience being thrown back in to desperation. I always try and listen, I watch and listen for where I can see, given who they're being and what they're saying, I watch and listen for what I could point to that would guide them toward this idea of being with whatever happens. So, you know, the value of practicing meditation is you can actually be in the world the way the world is. You can be in your body the way your body is. You can be with the mind you have, which is crazy. You know, it's just, that's the way it is. We're all conditioned to be crazy. You can be with all of that and be happy and be relaxed and be at ease. And not only be with all of that and be relaxed and be happy and be at ease, but you can be with all of that, be relaxed, be happy, be at ease, and be able to continually refine your ability to be effective and skillful in the way you're living your life. I mean, look, if this was a package deal, right, and I was like trying to sell you a vacation home or something, right, and the deal was as good as this deal is, you could not do it, right? You could not do it. If everything that I just shared with you, I said to you that, okay, you can have this, everything that I just shared with you, you can have this if you take this pill, right? You'd have to be crazy not to take the pill. But at the same time, it's often the case for people that they sit to meditate, and then after they meditate for 15 minutes, they get up off the cushion or the chair and they say, oh, this doesn't work. I don't feel better. You know, it's still, and now I feel worse because I feel anxious because I tried to meditate and failed. But that, and when people have that kind of reaction to trying to meditate, they don't even realize how ridiculous it is to expect to have that kind of result after sitting for 10 or 15 minutes. And the reason for that is because they're used to taking a pill, and within 10 or 15 minutes, the pill is done its job. So that's where that comes from. Most people don't have the patience to do most anything that's worth doing. Isn't it true? Most people don't have the patience to do most anything that's worth doing, because you don't have the wherewithal through practice to be diligent, right? To be diligent, to be patient, to be persistent, and those are exactly the qualities that's necessary to change your brain. So, what it all boils down to is that when we practice, all you have to do is understand that what you're up to here is being able to be awake, alert, relaxed, and present, and to stay in that posture, regardless of what comes up in terms of thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and so forth. And therefore, the posture is important. Because the posture in terms of the practice, especially if we're talking about Seizen, which we've been talking about recently, and I'm liking more and more, the posture requires that you take some time to really establish a foundation physically for sitting. That's what you're doing. And that's why they are so big on sitting on the floor, because if you sit on the floor and you create a triangle with your hips and your legs and your back is straight, that's going to be a very solid foundation for you to do your meditation. And when you're practicing the meditation and things come up that throw you or that capture your attention and you start to feel some kind of discomfort that makes you feel like you want to get away, according to a lot of experienced practitioners, they say when that happens, often when they adjust their posture, that's the thing that makes the difference, by adjusting their posture. So there's a relationship between the mind and the body in the sense that if you adjust your posture, it's kind of you're rearranging your physical body in such a way that it changes what's happening in your mind. These are the fine points of the practice. But you don't have to understand all the fine points. What you do have to do is do it consistently every single day without fail, and do it the way it's meant to be done in terms of understanding what you're doing, so that as you're practicing, if you notice yourself following a thought, right? In other words, a thought appears, you're aware a thought appeared, and then you're aware of the content of the thought that appeared, right? And the content of that thought may be, oh, I have to remember to call somebody later, right? Now, once you're aware, now I'm slowing what I'm saying right now down, because if you pay attention, you are slowing down because you're seeing more. Your camera's taking more pictures faster, right? And so if you slow down, you see, okay, I noticed, I became aware of the thought, and then I became aware of the content of the thought. And the content of the thought was, don't forget to call so-and-so later. Now, if the next thought I have is, and not only that, but don't forget to buy this, and not only that, but don't forget this, and not only that, but then that thought has taken me away from being present. But I have to be aware enough to see that it did. Otherwise, I just keep following the thought that turns into the thought that turns into the thought. So part of the practice is if you are aware, how you know you're aware is that when a thought arises, you're aware a thought has arisen, and then you're aware of the content of the thought, and then the practice is, having seen the content of the thought, you let it go. You don't follow it to the thought that's associated with that thought. You just let that thought go. Is that easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. Right? And it becomes more and more possible the longer you sit there in a good foundation, in a good posture, paying attention to what's going on. Because the whole idea is that thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, physical sensations come and go, but the awareness doesn't move. And that's you. That's what you are, the awareness. And so when you're practicing meditation, you're practicing being that which does not change in relationship to what's changing. You're practicing that which does not move in relationship to what's moving. But in order to experience that, you have to be aware. And it's difficult. Sometimes it's easy. I mean, when I did my sitting meditation today, I was really amazed at how fast it seemed to go. When I did it yesterday, I was sitting there and I couldn't believe how long. I swore that I must have forgot to set the timer or something. Not only that, but about halfway through the sit, I started feeling tired and unconscious, right? And my eyes closed. And I had to keep opening my eyes again. You know, I was staring at the wall. I had to keep opening my eyes again. And they kept closing again. So sometimes it's like that. You know, that wasn't fun, you know. But I understand how all these things work enough not to take that experience and make a conclusion about it, you know, that means, you know, one of the things that you discover about the way we are as human beings, if you practice consistently, is that human beings are meaning-making machines, right? We give all the meaning that there is to what we have that has meaning. We give it the meaning. And that happens automatically, and that happens without our necessarily being aware of it. So that's another thing to notice, you know, what are you having it mean? What do you have what's happening mean about you? What do you have what's happening mean about life? So the bottom line is that so there are 2 points about what I'm saying here. One is really see if you can allow yourself to understand the value of the practice in terms of the difference it could make. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is to understand that the motivation to practice is directly related to the value that you give to the practice and to the conviction you have about what's possible. And then out of that, you just do it every day without fail. And if that conviction is a real conviction, it means that there's a bridge you burned, right? If that conviction is a real conviction, it means that there's a bridge you burned. Therefore, there's no going back. There's no not meditating anymore. All there is doing it. And once you have that conviction, it starts to occur to you the same way as it would occur to you whether or not you're going to feed your children. It occurs to you. You don't ask yourself whether you're going to feed your children, right? And that's a conviction. A conviction is, hey, no matter what it takes, no matter what I got to do, I'm not going to let my kids starve. I'm going to do what I need to do to take care of them and feed them. That's a conviction. You got to have that kind of conviction for meditation. And you will be challenged. You will be challenged. One of the ways you know you're waking up and enlightenment is starting, the lights are coming on, right? One of the ways you know that you're waking up and the lights are coming on is you will be tested, right? You will experience some more wherewithal than you used to have. You'll experience a capacity to be with what's happening that's more than you had in the past. And then something will happen to test it. To see, oh yeah, you know who you really are? Oh, let's see if you can stay being who you really are now. And life will throw a hardball, right? It's guaranteed. I mean, okay. So how about we do a practice?